All right, we're here. Well, what is up, everybody? This is your boy, the Jedi Ronin, back once again for you all here today. This is going to be a fantastic episode. This is actually going to be technically the second one that you're going to see this year. Yeah, second one that you see this year. So that's going to be fantastic, right? And I had to come at you with this out-of-pocket content that as soon as our other host listens to it, he's probably going to be a little tilted the fact that I didn't do this with them. But you know what? It's going to be fine, because this goes over a very special game that if you see the title of this review and the title of this episode, you know exactly which angle I'm about to take it. But first of all, I'm Demetrius, and Meech presents the Blerd City podcast. And I had to come at you live here today because we have so much that's going to go on. And because of just everything that's been happening this past week, I have to hit you with the legal spiegel. So the purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised. So, now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and kick it off with the What's Hot. Everybody here who listens to this podcast know what it is, but in case you don't, here you go. It's a time where I get to talk about some of the best things that are happening out, or the best news that is happening right now, and I just wanted to make sure that you know about it, right? So, first things first, in the realm of movies, of course, Godzilla x Kong is coming out. Of course, I gotta be there for that, and I hope you all will be too. Next up, the Book of Clarence is dropping. Actually, at the time of this video, it'll be dropping on Thursday for the Thursday night premiere. And I will be going to see that because it looks downright hilarious, while also touching up on some religious themes. And then also, in case you don't know, Rebel Moon, it has been released on Netflix, and I watched it, and I may give a review on it at some point, but I may not. That's up to my discretion on that one. And now let's go ahead and switch over to the realm of anime, because this one kind of got me a little bit. So there's this comedian out named Kev on Stage, and Kev on Stage, pretty prominent black comedian, and he actually went on his first ever anime journey, if you will. And you'll never guess which series he started off with. Yeah, none other than Attack on Titan. For this man's first anime, he decided to watch all of Attack on Titan, and if you look on TikTok or Instagram, you get to see this man's whole mindset just collapse in on itself. It is hilarious. But because of that, right, he actually now has another anime he's watching, and I don't know who suggested these to him, but that person needs to stop, because he's going down a dark path. That next anime he's watching right now is Death Note. Yeah, exactly. So that is just downright diabolical for that man to get, Death Note after watching Attack on Titan. Like, this man is getting hit with it. He's about to get utterly destroyed. Whew. Man, so everybody just keep Kev on Stage in your thoughts. He ain't gonna make it. So next thing on the anime sphere is actually something that I was looking forward to for a long time, and I just completely forgot that this anime was dropping, and it is Solo Leveling. In case you don't know what Solo Leveling is, it's an anime where essentially it's like magical creatures, they invade the real world, so people get magic, and it follows the main character, whose name I will not pronounce because I don't want to get canceled by the Korean audience, because this is based on a Korean series, and he essentially he starts off as the weakest member or like the weakest hunter, and then eventually levels up to become a god. That's basically what the series is about and just its ultimate journey. So yeah, the first episode of this anime has dropped, and go watch it. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. They captured that series perfectly with the first episode. All right, so now let's move on to the realm of comics. As you know, KLC Press is still KLC Pressing. You know, we got ourselves that good old fashioned series known as To Kill Your Darlings and The Schlub. Read them both. Next thing up is the Spider-Man series, which there are a few. Number one, there's the gang war going on in Amazing Spider-Man and also in the Miles Morales Spider-Man books. We also have a Venom and Miles Morales giant issue Spider-Man crossover, in which they seem to come to blows because of course they would. And next up, we got the new Ultimate Spider-Man, which of course takes place in the new Ultimate Universe of Earth 6160, after Jonathan Hickman decided to create his own Ultimate Universe with Blackjack. And you know what? I'm not even gonna remember or say the rest, but you know. All right, but the Ultimate Spider-Man series seems to be doing good, or seems to look really great. And then we have Superior Spider-Man, the GOAT himself, and of course he is him, and that's all I need to say about that. In the realm of TV, Invincible is going to be coming back soon. Chucky will be coming back soon. What If had finished, and I have my thoughts on the series, but or at least this season, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna say anything for right now. That may end up coming later, maybe while I have when our boy Fallen Shinigami returns, because we gonna need him to keep me stable. All right, so going along with that, The Boys season 4 drops this year. And Percy Jackson and the Olympians has been absolutely gas. If you haven't watched it, or you don't own Disney Plus, get yourself Disney Plus and just watch it immediately, because it's really good. And this is coming from a guy who only knew Percy Jackson initially through the movies, and then when everybody told me about the books, I didn't read the books, but I pretty much got like an overview of everything that happened through the books. And suffice to say, the show's 10 times better. You know what I'm saying? And now, in the realm of gaming, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be dropping soon. Rise of the Ronin will be dropping soon. Black Myth Wukong will be dropping this year, and your boy will not see the light of day when that game comes out. I'm not even gonna hold you. Sun Wukong is hands down probably one of my favorite characters in Journey to the West. Probably the most famous character from Journey to the West, because you know who he is. Black Myth Sun Wukong? That's Son Goku from Dragon Ball. Yes, without Sun Wukong, we would not have Goku to this day. We would not have Infernape from Pokemon without Sun Wukong. So give that deity his flowers. And now, in the realm of YouTube, there's this YouTube series. It's 3 parts that's currently out right now that I started watching, and suffice to say, it is unrecognizably amazing. It's by Aaron Animation, or Aaron Animation, however you describe that, and it's called Blue Lock Academia, and it's a series that's just created by them, where it's Blue Lock, but with the cast of My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. Yes, you heard that right. It's what if the My Hero Academia verse faced the Demon Slayer verse in Blue Lock Soccer. Oh my, and it is gas because they all still use like their powers and abilities. So you have Deku out here with full cowling. It's like Detroit smashing the ball into a goal, while Tanjiro using his Hinotami Kagura to try to beat Deku. Inosuke and Bakugo are always at blows with one another. And then Todoroki just chilling as the goalie using his ice to save the day. It is just pure amazing, and I just want to just see more out of that. And now here's the part where just so much has happened. If you guys are aware on social media, there's just been a lot that's going on. Firstly, Cat Williams airing out everybody on the on our boys show on the podcast, and oh my goodness, Cat Williams is just out here. Shannon Sharp's podcast, you know what I'm saying? It is a good time, and Cat Williams just aired everybody out. I'm not even I can't even just describe it because it's Cat Williams and he brought receipts. So yeah. And then next up, there is this judge, all right, who decided to imprison this guy, deny this guy's parole, deny this guy's bail. No, you going to prison for this crime you commit. And you know what? This man decided to say, you know what? Forget you. I'm gonna go ahead and, did you know I can fly? And you know what he did? He pulled a Foxy jump scare from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. That was probably the last thing that judge ever saw, because he leaped up and attacked her. I'm not even gonna hold you. I busted out laughing. But this is what things to come in 2024, all right? And then in other news, there's also another case of just entitled delusional, you know, women out there, where there was this party, and unfortunately it was for us black delegations, so we out here looking terrible in 2024 already. So there was this party where the wife brought her husband, and he's the only guy there. So and when the bill came, he offered to pay for himself, his wife, and the birthday girl. Now, you'd think that'd be reasonable, right? But nah, of course, the other women, they decide to come after mans, saying that like, oh yeah, you must be broke, or like, it's your job as the man to pay for the entire table, or why aren't you trying to pay for anybody? But see, and the thing is, the bill was $700, all right? You wouldn't catch me dead trying to pay all of that, because here's the thing. You guys probably didn't even know that the husband was coming. And with that, right, it's not our obligation to pay for y'all. As a matter of fact, when you're going to a restaurant, always go under the assumption that you're gonna pay, okay? And then if the man offers to pay, then cool. If not, you got your bread, and you got the bread necessary to pay up. Otherwise, but if you don't do that, now it makes you look stupid. It's making all of us look dumb by comparison. But in good news, the wife stood up for her husband and really just said like how childish, how entitled the other women are. And to that woman, all I have to say is, listen, those people aren't your friends anymore. You definitely need to like just go find new friends. Tell the birthday girl like, hey, you may need to find new friends too. It's just gonna be y'all three on lock, because of the fact that they just trying to use my mans, and that was not cool. That was not cool at all. And then of course there's like this whole Stanley Cup phenomenon. I have no idea what's going on with that. I don't know why Stanley Cups are making a splash nowadays, and to be honest, I do not care. I just brought it up because, again, it's one of the few things that's happening this year in 2024. So I just want to keep y'all updated on that. And then the next thing is the fact that there's reportedly an alien that was found in the Miami Mall. I'm not even going to hold you. That is probably hilarious, because we know good and well it ain't an alien. Because of the fact that it's Miami. And I'm just gonna leave it at that for any Miami listeners, and I don't want y'all to get the wrong idea. All right. And then finally, there's this one thing that got released, but for the sake of my own health and to ensure that I don't get taken out by the FBI, by the government, or by all government officials, I will just say that a certain list got leaked. with airing out certain celebrities. I'm not gonna say what type of list it is, but all I gotta say is y'all probably cooked. I'm not even gonna hold you. Y'all are probably cooked if you guys decide to speak out against this list or speak out against anybody who is on this list. I'm not gonna say anything about it because again, I'm trying to stay alive to the age of at least 100. Okay, so yeah, you guys didn't hear anything else from me about that. So yeah, that's our what's hot. And before I get into that, I need to tell y'all about this one thing I also about to cop. Okay, so on TikTok, there's this guy called Mr. Simply Customs, and he customizes shoes. Well, this man decided to drop some Jujutsu Kaisen Air Force Ones. Good heavens, and some of these are absolutely gas. And plus there's like names of it because, you know, like each of the shoes are based on like the characters of Jujutsu Kaisen. So we got ourselves the Cursed Savior for Yuji. We got the Shadow Warrior, Megumi. The Wild Rose herself. We got ourselves the Honored One, Gojo. We also got the Fallen, Geto. The Strongest, Sukuna. You got Toji's. You got the Eternal Curse, Mahito. You got Yuta. You got Overtime for Nanami. Man, what can I say? Like, these shoes are absolutely gas, and I'm copying me the Cursed Saviors, followed by the Strongest, followed by Toji, followed by the Honored Ones, in that order, because I need those expeditiously. We just need to get my bread up, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, come support this podcast so you can help our fellow hosts on this Blerd City podcast obtain just awesome shoes such as the Wild Rose Nobara. So, now that we got our out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about our main deep dive of the day. So, what do we have in store? Well, this is a game review of a horror game that released in 2019, and I played it late 2023. It is none other than Song of Horror. Now, Song of Horror is a survival horror game by Protocol Games. They were a just small-time Spanish studio, and they wanted to release this horror game, and you know, they decided to go fund it through Kickstarter. But unfortunately, it failed out. And this may sound like a certain other franchise, Five Nights at Freddy's, but so the main series, they decided, you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and still work on the game and then drop it on Halloween. And from Halloween all the way up to about 2020, they finished the story with 5 parts, or at least 5 episodes, and it is a horror game. It is specifically a Lovecraftian horror game. And with it, right, so the main gameplay gimmicks of it is the fact that, like, you're essentially, it's like a super walking simulator, except the fact that you're going through locations, you're basically trying to solve puzzles, and all while trying to survive this enemy called the Presence. And the key hook about this game is the fact that the Presence is an AI. So the AI changes and creates like dynamic events or like key moments where like it'll just pop up out of nowhere to try to kill your characters. And it all depends on how well you're doing in the game. So like if you're just out here slaying through the game, you know, left and right, it makes things harder for you. Or if it's like seeing that you are getting pummeled, it might take things a little bit easier. So yeah, and that's just like not even the only factors that makes this game really great, right? Because it has, so you play as like multiple characters. Like in the game, you can select like a myriad of characters per episode, but there's a permadeath system. So if one of your characters die, that character is dead. They are no longer available for the rest of the game. And when you die, you have to pick another character, and essentially you start you kind of semi start over where you're basically at the beginning area, and then you have to travel back to where you were before and pick up your items, because your items are dropped where your character dies. And also is the fact that whenever your character dies, that character becomes like a ghost slash NPC enemy that the presence uses to try to kill you, which is absolutely just insane. And also, I gotta remind you that when it comes to like these enemies that come out and attack you, they are one hit kills. So if you like miss the timing on any of the like quick time events or anything of that nature, or you're just dead, or you like mess up the puzzle, you're just dead. Just RIP to your character. You got to make like wise choices, because one of the biggest things about it is the fact that like you go through like a myriad of doors, right? And these doors can determine whether or not you're screwed, because there's a mechanic where you listen to the door, right? And you be able to like hear some type of noise or not. And if you do, that lets you, and it's like a faint noise, and it lets you know that, hey, the presence is in this room. You go in, you're dead. Or there's sometimes where like you're doing where you're going around the man, or like, for example, you're going around in this house and you happen upon a bathtub filled with water, and there's a prompt that comes up that says like, hey, you may find something useful if you search this tub. Would you like to search it? Well, okay, this is where like your calculating mind has to come in. This is where your awareness, your survival skills got to come in. Because, see, for me personally, I would never. But like, for other people, it'd be like, okay, this may be part of the game. Like, this may be a scripted event, kind of like in Silent Hill 2, where you had to stick your hand in the toilet, where like, hey, there might be a key item hiding in this tub. Well, it could very well be an item in that chest, or it could be the presence inside that tub, and you immediately die if you stick your hand in there. Bruh. So, being that as I said, this is a pretty scary game, and because of the fact that there's like a huge atmosphere, the atmosphere of the locations you travel to are just awesome. The presence is a pretty terrifying antagonist, along with all of the different enemies that you get along the way. And then of course, as I said, the permadeath system has your boy's hands sweat. All right, because I'm like trying to do the best I can to ensure that all my characters live, and unfortunately that just did not happen. I got like a good number of my characters clapped. A good number of them just die. Okay. So yeah, now that we have that underway, we will be going ahead and getting to the story of Song of Horror. So starting off with the story, we start with episode 1, entitled Husher Mansion. Now, the thing I learned about through the wiki was the fact that each episode is based on an older horror franchise, with the exception of the last one. That one's kind of semi-wholly original. So episode 1 is actually based on the Fatal Frame franchise, also known as Project Zero in Japan. So the story is basically this author named Sebastian Husher, he ends up just disappearing one day, and so his sales manager Etienne decides to send his assistant Daniel, who was on vacation at the time, to Husher's mansion to, figure out what's happening, what's going on. And then Daniel like explores the mansion, and it's very empty, it's derelict, because of the fact like Husher's gone, and Husher's family's gone. And while exploring, Daniel ends up finding this door. Now, this door is very weird because it has like black veins coming out of it and like black shadows. And as soon as he enters it, it shuts behind him and then disappears. So he's just stuck there now. So because of that, Daniel is now gone as well for like multiple days. So his ex-wife, Sophia, pretty much questions, Etienne, who's like a black brother, to see like, hey, have you heard from him? And then decide to like, and this is where your first change in characters can come in, where you can choose who to play as, and that character ends up going to Husher Mansion. So with that, they go to the mansion. They are pretty much attacked by the president at multiple occasions, and find out that like another housekeeper, pretty much everybody has gone missing. And you like explore the mansion. You see like multiple notes. You see like drawings of this black figure. Sometimes the walls have just crosses on them. And by the end of episode 1, essentially you find Daniel, and like he's been rescued. He pretty much when you find him, he's just gone through it, and he just ends up in a hospital because he ends up having a nightmare where like a certain Dr. Berenice, followed him to the hospital. All right. And then we cut over to episode 2 called Eerily Quiet. This episode is based on Silent Hill. So you know this episode about to be some gas. All right. So, and the thing about the subsequent episodes is that they each introduce like a new mechanic. So in this episode 2, they introduce this enemy called the Silence, where it just pops up, and in order for you to like deal with it, you basically have to just remain quiet the whole time. So, you know, like do a quick time event in order to like be quiet. Otherwise, and if you mess it up just once, immediately dead. And then it also introduced, and this is the part that was just super messed up, it introduced soundproof doors. Yeah. So soundproof doors where you can't hear anything of what's going on the other side, meaning that it was very easy for the presence to kill you, and it got one of my characters clapped because of it. So yeah. So in episode 2, pretty much it cuts over to Daniel, who pretty much wakes up from a nightmare. He's in the hospital, but everybody who's still alive pretty much like go to visit him. Like they check up on him, and then he pretty much like tells them like, hey, Husher had this music box, and this music box is kind of like where what I believe is what's causing this. And then they learned that like Husher had sent the music box to this guy named Isaac Farber, who owns this antique store. And this is where like, okay, this is where you send like your next selection of characters to go to said antique store. So when you go to the antique store, it's nighttime and it's raining, and you pretty much go in and you're like, okay, it's locked, but like the key is found like in this certain place, and you go in and it's a quiet store, eerily quiet, if you will. And from there, like you're pretty much like finding letters from Husher and Isaac, where they're trying to figure out like, okay, where did this box come from? And pretty much from there, you try to find all the other characters, and then soon you find Isaac, and Isaac has died. He pretty much hung himself. So yeah, it seems like the music box is really screwing people over, because that was the only thing left. And so they get the box, they call the police, and then Daniel decides to try to find the original owner of the box. And they go to this woman named Ariadne, who as you find throughout the game, she's apparently the previous owner before Husher. And he pretty much shoves the music box at her and dips. Daniel is goated for that. But unfortunately, it turns out that as soon as you listen to the music box, you're basically screwed. And as the episode ends, you basically find that Daniel, he's pretty much on the couch, and he has another nightmare, and he pretty much wakes up. Now, episode 3, A Twisted Trail. this is based on the Obscure franchise, which is actually a horror franchise I know not too much about. And this one actually introduced mid-character swaps. And what do I mean by that? Well, this one is an interesting case where you have four different parts, and you swap between characters in the midst of the parts, and you have another enemy called the Abyss, which is just like a mass of just undead corpses that just rise up out of the ground and try to drag you into Lord knows where. So pretty much in the first part of this, Daniel, like, he pretty much goes to the university where Husher had worked at, and he decided to like go and investigate everything that's going on. He decides to like run into like some of his Husher's students, and they decide to like go and try to investigate what in the world's happening. And then they just search through the campus, and while searching through the campus, they find out about like a newspaper archive, which may lead to the origins of the box. So in the next section, you pretty much travel to the Historical Institute, where you're pretty much trying to find out more information about like the presence, aka the enemy of the game, and this music box. So, and of course they're like getting so little amount of clues, but they do learn that like Husher was pretty much blocked from the Historical Institute by the Institute because of just like what in the world he's trying to look into. But so instead, they decide to go to the library themselves. Whoop-de-doo. And you know what's happening, because of the fact once you get in there, the presence had basically already corrupted the library. And you have to like use your camera, like you have to use cameras, and you have to like safely try to navigate the library, because again, once you enter a place that the presence has corrupted, you ain't getting out until you find another way out. So basically they do that. They find like a book that basically tells about like what Husher was doing, and they learn about Saint Cecilia, who was like this patron saint of music, and how she had like this cursed concert that nobody could escape from. And they learned that like Husher had basically blindly followed that trail of breadcrumbs to Saint Cecilia's Abbey. Now, once you get to Saint Cecilia's Abbey, you basically see a cutscene of Husher trying to explore, and then gets attacked by the presence, and then he enters like this room, and then it just leaves. Like, that's the episode. It ends right there. So episode 4, The Last Concert. This one is based off of Amnesia, The Dark Descent. Good heavens. So this one, the main things that was introduced in this one is that depending on which character you have, or like which character you picked, you got a different starting location. Yes, you are like still at the same place. You have like a different starting position within that location. So no two characters started at the same place, which is kind of crazy. And then the next enemy that you get is called the Requiem. Now the Requiem kind of looks like your typical Lovecraftian cultist, hooded with tentacles coming out of their arms. And the thing is that you can only see the Requiem through a mirror, and they hate flashlights. So you essentially have to like look through a mirror to find it, and then flash your flashlight at it so it can die. Now this is crazy, because even though it says based on Amnesia Dark Descent, that's very Alan Wake-esque, I'm not even gonna lie. But essentially, okay, so Daniel and company, like, they all get to St. Cecilia's Abbey. Oh yeah, in case you didn't know, Daniel's the only character that cannot die. He could die, but then the game just restarts. So he doesn't get the permadeath treatment. All right, so they go down to the Abbey. It's basically a desolate, run-down location, and they go in. They find none other than Husher. Pretty much. Yeah, he's just there, and Ernest acts, and he acts like Husher ends up asking Daniel, to like not follow him, to basically like, hey, I need to do this alone, because if I do this alone, then the effects are like minimized. But unfortunately, of course, the other characters don't do that. So pretty much once that happens, all the other characters, they try to open the door into the Abbey, and then they see, like, again, it's just completely devastated, completely in shambles. And basically they learn that essentially like the Abbey, like, pretty much, took good people, drove them straight insane, and then, like, because of their insanity, they either killed others or disappeared or died themselves, or like, unalived themselves. And essentially, like, this chapter gave us kind of the origin of the box, but not really giving us like anything about the enemy or like the presence in general. But throughout it all, essentially Daniel gets trapped in another dimension called Elsewhere, and Elsewhere is where Husher was trying to go, and Daniel ends up finding a dead Husher, and he's been dead for a while, because of course he would. And from there, like, Daniel pretty much, he thinks he's able to get rid of the box there, but he wants to burn it, he wants to get rid of it, and then he tries to, and he's like, okay, I think I might be done. So then the episode cuts from there, with episode 5 being the horror and the song. The final episode, again, it's not based on any specific episode, and it's not a specific, and like not really many new mechanics or new enemies is introduced. So from here, right, Daniel basically, like, he's trying to like figure out, like, okay, I need to go and try to, again, murder the box, like destroy the box and all of that. So basically, like, with this, he like tries to call up any of his companions, try to get their help. Again, like, whoever's still alive at this point, you could get to help from there. And they go out, and then they get like multiple recordings in which it details, like, okay, this may be how you might be able to stop the box. And essentially like Daniel has to go to the Elseworld, or the other space, and give the music box back to the presence, and he does so. He does it. He actually succeeds. And when he does, he deposits the music box. He goes back, and when he's trying to, and this is where the messed up ending comes in, right? So he's running and he's trying to leave, like, the realm of the present, but right before he gets into the door, he makes it, and the door closes. So you think like he's good, like, okay, I made it out. But then like he goes to sleep, and then he wakes up, and it's just pitch black. And then the presence, basically in the form of Ariadne, like the other character who we were looking for, to just say like, hey, okay, so the presence doesn't like the light, but also there were 2 music boxes the entire time. So yeah, at the end of the game, Daniel is running for his life, trying to escape the dimension, because he never escaped it in the first place. And the mess of it is he's trying to break out of the door, and it turns out like on the other side of the door is the character that you play as in episode 1 during like the first attack that they have. Like, at first you think like it was the presence, but it actually turns out to all be a scripted event where your character ends up being attacked by the presence, and the only way to stop it was to like barricade the door. And it turns out Daniel was behind that door the entire time, and and you shut the door on his face, and that's how it ends. So yeah, as you can tell, so many Lovecraftian things, like so many the Lovecraftian monsters, the fact that the presence never really gets an origin, or you never really get a good look at it in its entirety, and the fact it ends on a very downer note. Like, oh my goodness, that is just insane. And it was an incredible game from start to finish. And as far as my recommendations go, this game gets me a solid, very solid A tier. Like, you need to go play this game expeditiously. Go play it. Like, as a matter of fact, go play it with some friends, because I know that's going to be like an excellent time. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Let me go ahead and get you some of these good old-fashioned plugs, and let's get on out of here. So as far as our plugs, we have ourselves our Instagram, our X formerly known as Twitter, and our Threads account under BlerdCity22. Like, follow, give us a shout out, hit the bell for notifications, comment on all of our posts, do all of that good jazz, show support to the fam. We also have ourselves our YouTube and our Patreon, located at Blerd City Pod. That's where you can, with the Patreon, donate some extra cheddar, get access to very exclusive episodes. And then from there, we have ourselves our Discord link in our Instagram page to join a fine community of degenerates, send memes, and be able to see, like, hey, be able to participate in episode suggestions as well. After that, right, we have ourselves our email, blerdcity22@gmail.com. That is where you are able to submit geek out freakouts, random fan theories, episode suggestions, and questions for mailbag episodes, and all of the like. Finally, for myself, I'm the Rogue Jedi on TikTok, as well as the Jedi Ronin on Instagram. And come support my channel, especially as I encountered this new year with new opportunities, and to give you guys brand new content separate from the podcast page. And then, of course, we have myself, my co-host, Fallen Shinigami, Mitri_Dash. He also has his book, Phantom Pains, A Most Irregular Tale. You can find that on Amazon as well as Kindle. Go and support my boy, especially as he has his second book nearly done, and his return to the podcast is in 1 month's time. And I'm gonna have to go ahead and exit this podcast, but not before leaving you all with some words of encouragement, which is, when you hear a music box sing, throw it out. Or if you just sing it at all, just try to destroy it, because you know what, forget all that. If you just hear a music box at all, yeah, just run, because of the fact nobody has a music box these days in 2024, and it'll be wraps for you. So yeah, just know that, hey, it's good. It's not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blerd City Podcast. See ya later.